start reading the Gita starts this analysis. Okay.
The Gita starts, and since at first, even its setting forth of yoga, to accept it almost wholly. It accepts Prakriti and her three gunas and 24 principles, accepts the attribution of all action to the Prakriti and the passivity of the Purusha, accepts the multiplicity of conscious beings in cosmos, accepts the dissolution of the identifying ego self, the discriminating action of the intelligent will, and the transcendence of the action of the three modes of energy as the means of liberation. The yoga which Arjuna is asked to practice from the outset is yoga by the buddhi, the intelligent will. But there is one deviation of capital importance. The Purusha is regarded as one, not many, for the free, immaterial, immobile, eternal, immutable self of the Gita. But for one detail is a Vedantic description of the eternal, passive, immobile, immutable Purusha of the Sankhya. But the capital difference is that there is one and not many. This brings in the whole difficulty which the Sankhya multiplicity avoids and necessitates a quite different solution. This the Gita provides by bringing into its Vedantic Sankhya the ideas and principles of Vedantic Yoga.
Yeah. And what that is, we will see in the next paragraph. Okay. So, as he said, the Sankhya philosophy is quite okay, quite right in its analysis in the lower planes of consciousness, lower planes of the spiritual consciousness, not the ordinary consciousness. At level 2, it is valid. Okay. So, but the Gita is accepting some of the principles, but not all. One of the principles that does not accept is the multiplicity of the self, which is a fact at the lower level. Okay. After all of you, there are so many of you now listening to this talk, all of you have got different souls. If one of you has an experience, the other souls are not experiencing, therefore they are different. So Sankhya is right. But the Gita pitches its aim even higher up. He says, why do you want to look at the lower? Go even higher up and you will see that you will experience the oneness of all souls. Okay? Exactly like again, we come back to the idea of the waves and the sea. If you look only at the waves, yes, wave 1, wave 2, wave 3, wave 4 are all different. They have got different size, different speed, different volume of water, different height, okay, different length. All of them are different. But essentially all are the sea. So if you want to see only the waves, you are welcome. You are in the Sankhya philosophy. But we would want to go even more because multiplicity is okay. It's one aspect. But why not go to the unity aspect? So the Gita as well as the Vedanta goes even higher up and says, ultimately they are all one. All the waves are only one sea. Okay, so every soul in the physical world is different. It's true, but when you keep climbing higher and higher, it is going. The consciousness is going more and more towards unity and oneness. Okay, it's exactly like a tree producing, let us say, mangoes. There are 100 mangoes on the tree, and each one is different, but they are all coming from the tree. So why do you look at the different mangoes? Think that the tree is producing them. Okay, go to the tree. The mangoes can't exist without the tree. These waves can't exist without the sea. That's what is being said. Okay, so this is the difference between Sankhya and Gita. But how does it solve the problem? That we will see. Okay, because it is accepting. It is accepting the Sankhya philosophy. Gita is accepting the Sankhya philosophy. But it brings in another element, and that we'll see what it is. So now I start reading the each sentence. The Gita starts from this analysis, and Srivda is telling you what that analysis is. and seems at first, even in setting forth of yoga, to accept it almost wholly. Almost wholly it is accepting except one detail. It accepts Prakriti and her three gunas and the 24 principles. Okay. I've given you the chart, so you have the 24 principles, Purusha and Prakriti, and then their combination produces subjectively and objectively all those 24 principles. If you have a look at them again, you will see. Okay, so 24 principles. That's why it's called Sankhya, from the Sankhya number. Okay, and what is Prakriti? It's the nature. It's the individually it is the body mind life. At the universal level, it is energy, which is producing level one. It is producing matter, life, and mind. Why is mind and life also included? Because they are created and they disappear. Okay, that's why it is Prakriti. So at the universal level, Prakriti is level one, matter, life, and mind. At the individual level, it is your body, which is matter, your vital, which is the one small selection of the universal prana, and your mind, which is a small selection of the mental universal plane of thought. Okay, you can say that. Okay, so this is the what is the Prakriti and Purusha. Purusha is the consciousness chit. When you go take your mind, your soul or your mental Purusha, when you go up into the higher plane of consciousness, you see that you are static. You have knowledge, but you don't have power. Okay, even if the power is there, it's not full. Okay, so this is it accepts. Gita accepts this part of the Sankhya philosophy. Yes, you are asking something?
Yeah. 24 principles you have sent to us. What is it, 24 principles?
Oh, okay. Tarika, I have given you a chart. So if you ask some of them, they will send you that chart. But you don't have, I have this difficulty with you, Tarika, that you don't have email, na?
No, I have.
Okay, then they will send it to you. Okay, one of them, you can ask any of them, they will send it to you. Okay, even I can send it to you, but then do one thing, send me your WhatsApp number and also your email. Okay, I'll register
Yeah.
it on my computer. Don't forget to do that after the class. Then you will know what the 24 principles are. Okay.
Rangana, I also haven't received.
Okay. Oh, you also don't have.
No, Rangana.
Pallavi, I had
Haven't
sent it. Pallavi, I have sent it to you, and you acknowledged also. Thanks. Just check.
That was not 24 principles, Archana Di.
You know,
Has
I
it sent?
uploaded right now. I uploaded right now in this chat. You can open it up now.
Yeah, Samsung
Okay.
did it. Sunki did it. It was on the Skype. I remember the image.
Yes, right now I sent it again, so you can open it up right now
Okay.
without rolling up.
Yeah, Sunki, do that. That will help the others. Okay. So, Tarika, don't forget to send me your WhatsApp number as well as your email address. Okay.
But it's same, Rangada. I don't have another number. This is the same number.
Acha, okay. So that's no problem then. Okay.
Yeah.
Right. But
Pallavi, it is the same. 1 minute, Rangada. It is the same chart which he had sent us almost a month back. Just check. You all have it.
Acha,
Sunki has
okay.
uploaded. Yes, Rangada, you can just. We have.
Yeah. So that's it. So the Gita accepts the three modes of nature, sattva, rajas, tamas. And that is a universal truth. At the lower level, what Sankhya is saying is absolutely correct. But as you keep going up, there is small difference of view. It's not that Sankhya is wrong, but if you go to a higher level, you see things differently. That's the only thing. Okay? So it accepts Prakriti and her three gunas. The three gunas, as you know, are sattva, rajas, tamas. Sattva corresponds to the mind, corresponds, okay? It's a principle of light, understanding, balance, harmony. Okay, that is sattva. A very sensitive and very developed principle of understanding. Okay, a consciousness which is very subtle and flexible and is capable of correct thinking. Okay, that's the sattva. Then you come to the rajas. Rajas is the principle of energy, power. At the higher levels, this energy is pure energy. There is no wrong movement in it. But it is only producing and creating. It has got the power. But by the time it comes down into the individual or in the universe, also in the prana at the lower levels, it becomes dirtied because there is density and there is darkness below, so it gets densified. Okay, so that is tamas. And we have also discussed that nothing is really negative in every sense, because you remember we have discussed also tamas. It is true. It is a principle of darkness, non-understanding, ignorance, foolishness, all these things. But it's a necessary principle. Why? Because it ensures stability. It ensures that there will not be an easy change. Easy change, if it is coming, then all the forms will not have a fixed form. They'll go on changing. And that's very inconvenient at the physical world. I'm talking to somebody and I know this person to be X, and suddenly he starts becoming Y. How will I talk to him? Okay, so that's why tamas is necessary at the lower level, but you have to get out of it. So these are the principles that Gita accepts, as well as also the Sankhya philosophy. So I go to the next sentence. Accepts the multiplicity of conscious beings in the cosmos. Multiplicity it is accepting, because the one becomes the many in Vedanta also, so it accepts that. Okay, so accepts the dissolution of the identifying ego sense. All systems, they say that when your consciousness rises from identification of body, mind, life up into the spiritual planes of consciousness, at whatever level it be, higher mind, element mind, intuitive mind, even overmind, but that's not very easy. Overmind is the highest of the spiritual planes. It is not. So when you go there, you lose your ego. The wave starts understanding that, oh my God, I'm part of the sea. I'm not something essentially existing by myself. My form, my length, my height, the volume of water that I have, the curve that I am having, all the waves, they think that this is not the reality. The reality is the sea which is producing me. The ego disappears. Okay? So the ego disappears. That's what he's saying. The dissolution of the identifying ego sense, the discriminating action of the intelligent will, and the transcendence of the action of the three modes of energy as a means of liberation. So how do you get liberation? How does your consciousness come out of the body, mind, life? You have to become triguna atita. Okay? You have to become triguna atita. You have to go beyond the three gunas. And what are the three gunas? Sattva, Rajas, Tamas, but more practical terms, your body, mind, life. You are not identified anymore with your body, mind, life when you are liberated. Okay? The consciousness is free. It's not a prisoner anymore of body, mind, life. Okay? So, dissolution of the identifying ego sense, the discriminating action. What is the intelligent will discriminating? It understands that, oh, I am not the body, I am not the vital, I am not the mind. Then what am I? I am pure consciousness. Okay? We come back to that nirvana. Okay? Nirvana Ashtakam of Shankaracharya. Mano buddhi ahankara chittani naham. I keep repeating these things so that it becomes very concrete to you. Okay? So then what am I? Chidananda Rupa Shivoham Shivoham. I am pure consciousness, pure Satchidananda. Chid Ananda Rupa. I am a form of Ananda and Chid. I am a form, a limited form of the infinite, formless Chit Shakti. Okay? That's what you are, you realize that. So the ego goes away, you realize that. I am not finite, I am infinite and eternal. That's what you realize. Okay? Action of the three.
Rangana,
Yeah, tell me.
that is the soul or the psychic being?
It is the not the psychic being. It's the
It's the soul.
consciousness in the mind mainly. Okay? It's the manomaya purusha that rises. It's a consciousness. The psychic, not necessarily. The psychic remains at the horizontal level, but when you are going, you are getting liberation, it's a vertical level. Okay? You are going above. When you get the liberation, it's not the psychic being. When Sriyanga went up, it was pure his mental consciousness that went up. Okay? The consciousness is there everywhere, in the body and in the vital and the mind, but it's the manomaya purusha, the consciousness in the mind that goes up. Okay? But the psychic remains inside. In fact, if the psychic had gone up, you would have emotion, but you don't get emotion. The nature of the psychic is devotion and love. Okay? But that is not there very often. Okay? It may not be there at all. In fact, for Srimba, it was not there. He says very clearly, no emotion at all, only liberation. So your question is a valid one. There is a difference, Pallavi, between
Yes.
the consciousness and the psychic being. The psychic being is the ambassador of the divine in the body-mind life. In other words, the ambassador represents his country but does not have full power. He has to go on referring back to the government of India to know what action he should take. So the psychic being is a representative of the self, of the Brahman consciousness. Okay? So this you must remember. These are all interesting details which you must remember. So the psychic being, if you have, you don't necessarily get liberation, but you get love and devotion for the divine. Okay?
Okay.
Yeah. So this is what's in the intelligent will. Okay. The intelligence is at the mental level, right? And there is will also. The transcendence of the action of the three modes of nature and the means of liberation. You can't get liberation necessarily if you have only the psychic awakening. You don't get liberation necessarily. But it is possible for the psychic being, depends on the individual, to join with the self. Then you get liberation as well as love and devotion for the Lord. Both you get. That's not very common, it's rare. It's either this or that usually. Okay?
Excuse me,
Yes.
if the psychic being is the ambassador of the divine, then
Yeah.
how would you term consciousness in relation to the divine?
Wait, how do you, I didn't follow the question, Yasmin?
If you term
Huh.
the psychic being
Yes.
as the ambassador of the divine,
Yes. Of the self. Yes. Go on.
how would you term consciousness in relation to the divine?
Oh, it is the aspect of awareness in the divine. Sat Chit Shakti Ananda. The divine is Sat Chit Shakti Ananda, right? You agree? But
Yes.
consciousness is only one aspect. Okay? There is the aspect of Sat, which is substance, subtle substance. Then there is also the force, which is not necessarily Ananda. It is not necessarily consciousness. And you have Ananda. So, consciousness is the Chit, the awareness. Okay? And at the highest level, they are all one. But as it keeps coming down, the consciousness and the Ananda and the substance, they all get separated. So consciousness is something very, very fundamental. It is something very interesting, and consciousness is there at all the levels, from the highest to the lowest. At the lowest, again remember that it is densified. It becomes more and more unconscious. And in matter, finally, at the lowest level, there is almost total unconsciousness. This principle of gradation from the highest to the lowest is a very, very, very important distinction. That you have to keep in mind. Consciousness is something fundamental. Okay? It is something that exists by itself. This is what now even science is recognizing. It is not something that is produced by life. It is consciousness that exists by itself. It can exist at the highest level, it can exist at the middle level, it can exist at the lowest level, but in the lowest level it is sleeping. Consciousness is there in matter, but it is sleeping. Okay?
So Rangada, by
Yeah,
that same reasoning,
yes.
Ananda and Shakti are also there by itself.
Absolutely.
So,
Absolutely.
so
Absolutely.
how do we go to Ananda through which way?
Through the psychic.
Through the psychic. No,
Yeah.
because consciousness you said through the mind and
Yes.
Ananda to the psychic. Then
Yes.
the Shakti is through Karma Yoga.
Yes, you can say that. And it comes when you have full consciousness, a little bit of power also comes in. When you have love, okay, then a little bit of power also comes in for changing your body mind life. Okay, when your psyche comes forward, a purification can take place. Now you try to purify your vital and get rid of your desire, you'll find it difficult. But if the psychic is there in front, it becomes easy. Okay, so
It's
power.
not automatic. It's not automatic once you realize the psychic being, it gets clean. No.
Automatic is a way of talking because the will in the psychic is for purity. So it is
Okay.
automatic in that sense. Okay? Yeah. It is automatic in that sense. There is a purity that comes in. And that will is for purity is there in the psychic. But I wouldn't say automatic because the word automatic suggests unconsciousness. Don't you think?
No, I thought automatic in the sense that it comes with the realization.
Yeah, I
Automatic
understand.
in that sense.
Yes. In that sense, yes. But not in the sense of the
No,
use of. Yeah,
unconscious existence. No.
yeah, that's right. That's what I mean. Okay. So words are very important because when you say automatic, that means for everybody it will come automatically. That may
But
not
it's
be.
not so.
Yeah, it may not be like that. I am very
Okay.
satisfied only with my love. Okay, my body, my mind, and my vital are dirty, but I don't care. Okay, that also happens very often in bhakti yoga. Who is bothered about the impurities and the bad health in the body and the desires in the vital? I don't care for them. Let it be there. But I am now identified with the divine and I have got so much intimacy with the divine. I don't care for the other things. I give it one kick, let it go to hell. Even if desires are there, what does it matter to me? Even if wrong thoughts are there in the mind, what does it matter to me? It can happen. But normally, the psychic being would want purity everywhere. Okay, that can happen. Shemsa says that everywhere. The psychic is there is a will also in the psychic, a will for purification. But it's not 100% that every time it's going to happen automatically. Each individual, okay, this is one thing that we have to understand. When I was reading some of those letters recently, I have started reading again. He says very clearly that there are infinite variations, permutations. You can't say that everything is in a fixed road like that, like a highway with signs. Now you are here, now you are there, now there is another 50 kilometers to go for your. It's not like that. There are many, many variations possible. Okay, so. So, we go to the next sentence, okay? The yoga which Arjuna is asked to practice from the outset is yoga of the buddhi. So, yoga of the buddhi is the jnana yoga. So, is use your mind and distinguish the consciousness from the body mind life. That's it. You have to use your and discriminate. You have to go on saying to yourself, I am not the body, na iti, na iti, na iti. I am not the body, I am not the vital, I am not the mind. Mano buddhi ahankara chittani na aham. I am not that. Then what am I? That's where discrimination comes in. I am pure consciousness. Okay? So but there is one deviation of capital importance. And what is that? The Purusha is regarded as one, not many, in the Gita. The Gita says the Purusha is one. And the Gita is looking at the reality from a higher level. Sankhya is looking at it from a lower level, and both are right. It depends at which level you are, and there's no difference. But naturally, if one is given a choice, one would prefer the higher look because it is simpler and more true in a sense. Okay? So, but there is one deviation of capital importance. The Purusha is regarded as one, not many. And what is the Purusha? The Chit, the consciousness. Okay? And that consciousness can take many, many stances. At the highest level, it is pure consciousness. At the spiritual level, it can be the overmind consciousness, it can be the intuitive consciousness, it can be the illumined mind consciousness, it can be the higher mind consciousness. And when it comes down to our mind, normal mind, it is the normal mental consciousness. There is a consciousness even in the vital, okay? Like in animals. They don't have much of a mind, but they have a consciousness in the vital, okay? There's even a consciousness in the body. We have discussed that, no? We have seen so many automatic actions of the body, which is the body itself is doing, okay? So there is a consciousness also, very low type of consciousness in the body also. We have discussed that many times. Don't forget that. When you are coughing, okay, are you deciding, I want to cough now? It's not a mental movement at all. It's a body movement. Automatically you are coughing because something is stuck in your throat and you want to throw it out. But the best example of body consciousness is when there's an injury and the blood starts clotting. Okay? And why? Because the body knows that this is going to be harmful, I'm going to lose my blood. It starts sealing the wound. Okay? So this is a body consciousness. And in matter, there is consciousness, but it is sleeping. So remember that. Consciousness is something fundamental. It exists at all the levels. Exactly in the same way, Sat also exists at all levels. At the highest level, it is subtle, almost formless and very, very subtle. You can say is almost nothing, ether. Then as it keeps coming down, becomes dense, 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 and finally Sat becomes matter. And it goes down even below matter, it becomes the inconscient. Ananda also same thing. Ananda also and force also. All of them are subject to this gradation. Highest level pure, lowest level impure. And from there we have to come out and slowly go. Okay, so. But for one detail, it's a Vedantic description of the eternal, passive, immobile, immutable Purusha of the Sankhyas. Okay, so. But the capital difference is that there is one and not many. The many souls are a fact in the physical world. But the Vedanta says, okay, but don't look at the reflection of the moon in troubled waters and say, oh, there are several moons. No, look up and you will see that there is only one moon. Okay, there is only one consciousness and one. What sometimes uses the word oversoul. The divine soul is one. Okay, the divine soul, or sometimes use the word oversoul, and the others are the individual souls. The one becomes the many. Okay, so this brings in the whole This brings in the whole difficulty which the Sankhya multiplicity avoids and necessitates a quite different solution. This the Gita provides by bringing into its Vedantic Sankhya the ideas and principles of the Vedantic Yoga. So how does the Gita solve the problem? Because it is accepting Vedanta, it is accepting Sankhya, but does not accept the principle of multiplicity of souls. So how does it solve the problem? That he will tell you in the next paragraph. Not a very big paragraph, a small one. How does the Gita solve the problem of the multiplicity of souls and the oneness of souls? By going to the third level and say, don't look at it from below, but look at it from above. And then you will see that there is a different Purusha. There is a Kshaya Purusha, which is your body mind life. There is an Akshaya Purusha, which is your self, the Brahman, and there is a Uttama Purusha. And the Gita says, Uttama Purusha to Anya. This is the quotation. That it is something else. It's the same thing, but at a higher level. Okay. So let's read the first important new element we find. So somebody has to read. Yasmin read, na? So we can. Tarika maybe can read today if you have the text.
I have
Okay, go ahead, read it. The first important new element.
important new element we find is in the conception of Purusha. Prakriti conducts for the pleasure of Purusha. But how is that pleasure determined? In the strict Sankhya analysis, it can only be by a passive consent of the silent witness. Passively, the witness consents to the action of the intelligent will and the ego sense. Passively, he consents to the recoil of that will from the ego sense. He is witness, so by reflection, upholder of the work of nature. Shakshi, Anumanta, but nothing more. But the Purusha of the Gita is also the Lord of nature. He is Ishvara. The operation of the intelligent will belongs to nature. The origination power of the proceed from the conscious soul. He is the Lord of nature. If the act of intelligence of the will is the act of Prakriti, the source and life of the intelligence are absolutely contributed to nature. If not,
Your internet is giving a lot of trouble.
my internet.
Go ahead, read.
The source and light of the intelligence are actively contributed by the Purusha. He is not only the witness but the Lord and master of knowledge and will. Jnata Ishvaraha. He is the supreme cause of the action of Prakriti, the supreme cause of its all from. In the Sankhya analysis, Purusha and Prakriti in their dualism, cause of the cosmos. In this
Again, your internet has gone silent. Okay.
Sankhya analysis, Purusha and Prakriti in their dualism are the cause of the cosmos. In this synthetic Sankhya Purusha, by his Prakriti, is the cause. See at once how far we have traveled from the
Purism of the traditional analysis. Okay, so I will read now and I hope that everyone can listen to what I'm saying. Tarika's internet was very up and down. Okay, so how does what is the difference between the Sankhya and the Gita? The Sankhya philosophy says that the Purusha is always static. It has no power at all. That is what the Sankhya says. But Vedanta says and Gita says that if you go higher up, it gets a power. There is a gradation of the Purusha. And that gradation is a very interesting one. That's what we will see. And that is there very clearly in the Gita. It becomes Sakshi, Anumanta, Bharta, Bhokta, Jnata, and finally Ishvara. Okay? So there are grades of the Purusha. It can just as you are a baby in the beginning and you slowly grow and you grow in consciousness, exactly the same thing happens at the spiritual level also. You are an absolute baby spiritually when you are identified with your body mind life. But when you become a little adult and your consciousness goes to the spiritual planes of consciousness, you are now an adolescent. But from there, you can become an adult by growing even more. And Slowly, slowly, your intelligence increases, your capacity increases, okay, even your body goes on growing up, if you want to use the simile, okay. So this is what happens, and there is a gradation. We'll see what that gradation is. So the first important new element we find is in the conception of Purusha itself. The conception of Purusha in Sankhya is one, and the conception of Purusha in the Gita is another. So, and what is the difference? Prakriti conducts her activities for the pleasure of Purusha in both, okay, in the Gita as well as in the Sankhya. But how is that pleasure determined? How is that pleasure determined? In the strict analysis, Sankhya analysis, it can only be by a passive consent of the silent witness. The silent witness has no power, but it is allowing the Prakriti, the force, to create forms. Okay? It is allowing your the mental consciousness, the chit, is allowing the body mind life to do whatever they are doing. Okay, I accept. Why does it accept? That's an interesting question again. Okay, why does the Purusha, which is infinite consciousness, allow the vital to even indulge in wrong movements and also have wrong actions in the body? Okay, why does it do that? Because of experience. Our idea of what is good and bad is not absolutely correct. Because even when something bad happens, you are learning experience. You must. Are you in a better position only if you see light? Or if you see darkness and light, won't you understand light better? So that's the whole point. So that's why the Anumanta, this soul, agrees to the body mind life to grow by experiencing everything in the physical world. Okay? Okay, experiment, find out. Okay, this is dark, that is not dark. So you understand the truths of the lower levels, and then it grows. So that's why it grows. So in the Sankhya, it's only by passive consent. It's not an active consent. Okay? Because if the active consent comes, then something else happens. We'll read that. In the strict Sankhya analysis, it can only be by passive consent of the silent witness. Normally, that's the experience that everybody has. Even Srivamdar had that. Okay? So, because that's a very interesting thing. If Srivamdar has, then we know what the truths are. Okay? So, he had that. Okay? No, only witness, but no judgment, no idea of good and bad. I'm just watching. I'm understanding. This is red, this is green, this is blue. But I'm not saying this is superior to that or inferior to that. I'm just watching. Okay. The impersonal Sakshi. Okay. So passively, the witness consents to the action of the intelligent will and the ego sense. Action of the intelligent will, your mind, and the ego sense. It is agreeing. Let it do what it wants, it will get experience. Passively, he consents to the recoil of that will from the ego sense. If it does not recoil, then there is no liberation. But the witness is recoiling from the will and the ego sense. Okay? So then you get liberation. I am not body, mind, life. That also is passive. Okay? It's not active. Okay. So he is witness. Who is the we? The Purusha. He is the witness, source of the consent, by reflection, upholder of the work of nature. Now what is meant by this reflection? Because nature is doing things, okay, and throwing her images and activities onto the Purusha, and the Purusha thinks that it is doing. When it is doing that, it is identifying itself with the body, mind, life, it is ignorant. It is thinking that this is what I am. But then by recoil, Srivamdar is saying recoil, that means the soul understands that it is not the body, mind, life. It now realizes that I am different from my body, mind, life. That's a recoil that he's talking about. Of that will from the ego sense. He is witness, source of the consent, by reflection, upholder of the work of nature. It is agreeing to whatever nature is doing. Okay. So he has used three words: Sakshi, Anumanta, Bharta. Up to this point, the Sankhya can go, but not beyond. But the Gita goes beyond. We'll see that. So these words are clear. Sakshi, only witness, no judgment at all. Anumanta, slight agreeing. Okay, okay, I am giving permission. Okay, Anumati is permission. So it is giving permission for the body, mind, life to do whatever it wants. And it is supporting it. Okay, just like a, in what sense support? Like a parent supporting a child. No? Not physically, but from every way, emotionally and also financially, it is supporting. So the Sakshi is supporting, the Purusha is supporting the body, mind, life. Okay, so, but nothing more. It is only this much. Now what we come to the Gita. But the Purusha of the Gita is also the Lord of nature. Okay, it becomes the Ishvara. As I told you, the Gita is the third. Okay, the Kshara Purusha, the Akshara Purusha, and the Uttama Purusha, which becomes the Purushottama. Uttama Purusha, the highest Purusha. And that is different from the Akshara Purusha and the Kshara Purusha. Akshara Purusha, the self. Akshara, immutable self. Okay? He is the Ishvara. So in the Gita, you have the concept of the Ishvara, the Purushottama. Ishvara is the word that Sri Aurobindo uses, but also the Gita also uses the word Ishvara. But the Sankhya does not show that. The Sankhya remains only for the Purusha is passive and passively also consents, but that's all. It is eternally separate from the Prakriti. But in the Ishvara consciousness, the consciousness uses its own power. Okay? The Shakti is used by Chit. It becomes the Prakriti becomes the power of the Purusha. That's a difference. Whereas in the Sankhya philosophy, at the lower levels, they are different. Okay? So this is the main difference. And Sri Aurobindo agrees fully with that. The Ishvara consciousness normally, it gets a reflection in the lower, but it is there absolutely at the best, highest level, it is in the supermind. Okay? If the operation of the intelligent will belongs to nature, the origination and power of the will proceed from the conscious soul. There is the origination and power of the will comes from the conscious soul. This is the Gita philosophy. He is the Lord of nature. This is not there in the Sankhya philosophy. So that's the reason why when a yogi gets the experience of the liberation, the first reaction is soul is different and body, mind, life is different. So that's why you come to the conclusion you can throw out body, mind, life. Okay? It happened even to Vivekananda. Okay? As soon as he realized who he was, he threw out the body, mind, life. He used the word, I spat out the body, mind, life. Okay? So it is such so powerful a thing. But when Sri Aurobindo's case, he did not throw it out. He says, wait. I think that two is not the ultimate truth. There must be one which is the ultimate truth. Okay? So I will wait until I see the final operation, final state. I am not going to judge, and there is the last state. So he waited. Now, if the act of intelligence of the will is the act of Prakriti, the source and light of the intelligence are actively contributed by the Purusha. This is all Gita. He is not only the witness, but the Lord and knower, master of knowledge and will, Jnata, Ishvara. So now we have that gradation. Sakshi is the first gradation at the lowest spiritual level. You are only witness. Okay? You are not even Hanumanta. Slight development and you come up and you see, oh, I was only witnessing, but I now see that I have the permission. I have got the power of permission. So I can either withdraw the permission or I can allow it to continue. Okay. So when you have the power to take your permission out, you are going to more and more towards the purification of the lower. Okay. Then you realize also that you are the bharta, you are the one who is supporting the body mind life. Then at a higher level, you become the jnata. Now you realize that you have the power also to change your body mind life. And when you go to the Ishwara level of consciousness, you have the power also to change your body mind life. So, he is the supreme cause of the action of Prakriti, the supreme cause of its withdrawal from action. Okay? It is a Ishvara consciousness that allows liberation. In the Sankhya analysis, Purusha and Prakriti in their dualism are the cause of the cosmos. In the synthetic Sankhya, Purusha by his Prakriti is the cause of the cosmos. We see at once how far we have traveled from the rigid purism. Okay? Purism, the scrupulous observance of traditional rules. Purism. Pure theory of the traditional analysis. So, is the difference clear? The difference in this is this. In Sankhya philosophy, which is valid, 90% of all yogis who have the experience, they experience Purusha and Prakriti to be separate. Okay? There is the Purusha consciousness which is perfect, and the Prakriti consciousness which is lower and action, and the that's why the normal tendency of all yogis is to reject the body mind life, reject Prakriti. Why should I go there? It is so satisfying to be in the Purusha consciousness. Infinite, pure, static, oneness, no suffering, no pain, nothing. It's wonderful. But there is rejection of the body mind life. But in the integral yoga as well as in the Gita, you go higher up and you can live in the physical mind in the world without also being subjected to pain and suffering. That's the Ishvara consciousness. Okay, so that's it.
Buddhism is
8:30.
what exactly?
Pardon? I didn't
Buddhism
quite.
is what is
Tell me. Tarika, your internet today is giving a lot of trouble.
tourism?
Huh. What about the reason? Tell me your question correctly.
What is the meaning of purism?
Oh,
Purism.
purism. Okay. Purism means the pure theory. Okay. The rigid theory. Whereas in the Gita, that rigid theory is becoming flexible theory. Huh? That's what is meant. That's what is meant by purism. Scrupulous observance of traditional rules and of literature and of literature. In literature also and painting, purism means you stick to the principles, rigid rules. That is purism. Okay, we stop here today. It's 8:40. We have gone 5 minutes beyond our time. So next time, but what is the one self? So that's okay. Au revoir, everybody.
Merci, Rangada. Au revoir. Bonne journée.
Bonne journée and au revoir to everybody, all of you. Okay.
Merci.